So on paper, I was living the dream life, but inside me, I was feeling super unhappy.
What's up guys, awesome that you're watching again. We're currently on our way to Tilburg to go pick up Joey Suki.
Yep.
Very excited about this interview today. He's going to talk about his artist coaching platform and what made him decide to stop DJing.
Also a big part about his mental health and the whole issue that some DJs have with their mental health. So it's going to be really interesting.
Exactly. So I'm just going to do some editing magic and then he will appear. Adios. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Joey Suki.
Hey. Yes, welcome. Hello.
Welcome, Joey.
Great to have you here on the show.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for picking me up all the way in the south.
Yeah, in the beautiful Brabant, where we are right now.
It's a long ride for you guys.
It's a really long ride. So let's just go on with the first question then. Which is, when and how did your passion for music actually start?
Well, for that question, we have to go back quite a while, about 18 years. When I was 14, but I kind of thought it was fun, together with a friend of mine, to have a DJ booth and play at parties at people's homes, like Sweet 16s, weddings, those kind of parties. So we started building our own stuff and playing at those local home parties, which was super fun. And that's kind of where it all started. That's where the first time I got in touch with the decks and playing in front of a crowd and knowing how that is and experiencing how that is. And that's where everything started for me. After the DJ and wedding stuff at people's homes, I went into the city center of Tilburg, my hometown, and played at some local clubs, bars, those kind of things. And when I was playing there, I had to play 2 to 3 nights an evening, so 4 or 5 hour gigs.
Yeah.
And I just thought, it was pretty boring to play all the tracks every other DJ was playing as well.
Yeah.
So I started out by making edits, making mashups in software like Magic Music Maker. I'm not sure if you guys still know it, but pretty shitty stuff back then. And it just started with mashups to create more unique tracks to entertain the audience that evening. And from there, that developed into producing my own music.
And what would you describe your style to be?
That's a good question. I think it would be a mixture between electro and deep house.
Deep house,
yeah, because I liked the energy of EDM afterwards. At that time, electro. The energy of those those build-ups and drops. But I also liked the clean, minimalistic sound. But I always tried to find that sweet spot between the energy of EDM and the minimalistic deep house kind of sound.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. And talking about gigs, what's the sickest gig that you've ever had in your whole career?
I think that's Belgrade in Serbia. I went there without any expectations because I thought it's Serbia. I didn't hear anyone talking about it. I just had literally no expectations of the whole country, of nothing. And when I came there, it was like on every possible aspect, the whole country surprised me, the people surprised me, and especially during the party, it wasn't like this, what's it called, like this big hall, full of graffiti and stuff, and it was fully packed, and from the front to the back of the whole venue, people were jumping, and not just for only on the drop or whatever, but like the full set. And
Crazy.
I've seen things like that kind of before, as in like the first 10 rows, the first 20 rows of the audience going crazy, and after that it becomes a bit more easy,
Yeah.
But this was like front to back chaos.
Chaos.
Yeah.
Do you have any sick backstage stories that happened?
No, not really. I'm not that rock star kind of DJ. That's also the reason why eventually I decided to quit, simply because I not always felt like a fish in the water in the industry. I always felt like I was a bit different than the rest, and I like to party, I like to have a drink every now and then, but I'm not a fan of drugs. I had a girlfriend, so women were not really a thing for me. So the backstage things were fun, but not like super crazy or intense for me, you know. I never really enjoyed the fact that people put you on a pedestal and think that you're maybe better than them or bigger than them or whatever the thoughts were because you might have achieved something in life. But it's just, I was just never comfortable in a situation like that. And afterwards it all makes sense, but at that moment I just never really understood why.
Okay, so when did you decide to quit? Was it like a gradual build up, or was it someday that you were like, no, I'm just stopping?
No, that has been a build up of like, it's hard to put a date on it, but let's say 2 years. It all started with the fact that I started noticing that every gig I had to do felt like my job and not like having fun with it and doing it as a hobby. And that was the first time I started noticing, okay, something's changed. You know, like I've played music for fun 10 years, 10 years straight, and now things are becoming a problem and I don't feel like traveling. I don't feel like missing my friends or family. I don't like hanging out with new people, being in different cities. So it kind of built up towards that moment that I decided to quit, but I think it took about 2 years. Yeah. The moment when I started to play internationally and started traveling more and more and started to gain some traction within the industry, just made me feel like I was in the wrong place.
You've basically completely changed your whole path with the artist platform, the artist coaching platform.
Yeah.
So how did that idea actually happen?
Well, it actually started from the fact that I decided to quit. As in, the reason why I quit is because I started to get panic attacks, anxiety, became really unhappy. To the point where I just didn't want to leave my bed, where I could cry all day long, like felt negative all day long, didn't see any joy in life anymore. That was the moment for me where I said, okay, this is where I draw the line, this is the moment that I quit. And after that, like, let's say a year after that moment, I started thinking, like, how could this have happened? You know, like it's the best job on earth if you look at it on paper. You know, like traveling a lot, having attention from girls, making more money than average, not having a boss, making music for a living. You know, like even that alone is crazy.
Yeah.
So on paper, I was living the dream life, but inside me, I was feeling super unhappy. I started thinking, like, could this have been prevented, or did I do something wrong, or could someone have helped me with these kind of things during my career? I started Googling simply like artist coach, and no hits. So I was like, okay, it's not crazy that I never thought about this because no one is doing this.
Because obviously it has been spoken a lot, or not a lot, but a bit more about now, especially I think with Avicii passing away, that definitely initiated something.
Yeah, that was kind of the drop that let the bucket overflow. 5 years ago, literally no one was talking about this. But I wrote a book about my life and about my story as an artist and started to give that away for free as a free download, as an audiobook available on Spotify. It ended up being a great thing to open up the conversation to talk about mental health in this industry because artists start reading it and they start seeing some similarities, you know, like, hey, I'm experiencing this too. Yeah. I never really thought about the fact that other people were struggling with this as well. From that moment on, Hartwell started talking about it, Martin Garrix started talking about it, Nicky Romero. More and more DJs started talking about the fact that it's a pretty tough job and that it's a pretty hard life. That really helped to make the conversation easier. Yeah. And the thing that made it a big issue for the industry was when Avicii passed away. Yeah. Because that was really the moment where bookers, event or promoters, DJs, really everyone in the industry had something like, wow, okay, what the fuck is actually going on?
Yeah.
So you say it already, like that DJs start talking about it's not all as glamorous as everyone makes out it to be. Yeah. What is it then that the normal people are not seeing? Like, what is it that makes it so tough?
To me personally, and it's pretty similar to what I hear from other artists as well, those 2 hours on stage are the best thing on planet Earth. You know, like you get this adrenaline, you get the best feeling ever, you literally feel like the king of the world at that moment. But if you have to travel 24 hours to, let's say, Indonesia to play one gig for an hour and a half, sleep for 5 hours, 6 hours, and fly back 24 hours, like it's that part. It's the hours in front of the gig and the hours after the gig that kind of tear you apart, because you're all on your own. It's super lonely. Like I did, my fee wasn't high enough to bring a tour manager constantly, especially to the Asian kind of countries and stuff, because it's too far away, too high, too much high pricing for tickets, for hotels, those kind of things. Yeah. So I couldn't afford it to bring a tour manager with me all the time, or a friend. So for Europe, that wasn't a problem. But those are flights from maximum 3-4 hours. That's doable. And even when you were away from home for a longer period of time, so let's say a tour of 2 weeks, it's super intense. Like you get back from the club at 4 or 5 or 3, somewhere in midnight. You sleep 4 or 5 hours. You get picked up by a total stranger. Yeah. He drops you off at the airport to get into a flight for 1-2 hours to another city, where another stranger will pick you up, drop you in the hotel. Maybe you have dinner with your promoter if you know him or if you're open for it, and maybe you don't even see him. And you do the whole thing over and over again for 14 days long. That's definitely the part that kind of took away the joy for me.
So what's the solution then that your platform might bring to artists who struggle with exactly this lifestyle?
Well, what I've found out myself, too late unfortunately, but when I had my burnout, I started to think like, hey, this is a big problem for me. Like I was afraid of flying. I had panic attacks. That wasn't the way for me to continue doing the job. So I started visiting a psychologist and a coach. After that whole process, that triggered me to dive deeper into the human brain, human behavior. You know, why do we do what we do? Like what affects our thinking? What affects our body? What affects our performance? And I found out way too late that you can control so many things inside you. And I literally never done that during the gigs or during the traveling, because I was just out of control. I was just on autopilot and just went with it. And if you do that for too long, the industry will just eat you up. And what we do with artist coaching is we created a plan for the 3 stages that we believe every artist goes through, which is the creative stage, which is the beginning stage, as in someone still needs to learn how to make music. You first need to be able to make quality music before everything else can start to happen. So that's the first thing we can help you with, make your music better. If you've achieved that, you might go on to the next package, which is the middle package, where we focus more on the career. So the business side of everything. So think about music promotion, music deals, marketing, social media. How do you build a brand as an artist? Like the big question within that space is, how do I make money from music? And then the last stage would be, if you already are making a living as an artist, traveling the world, releasing a lot of music, that's the mental package for us. So that's where we start talking more and more about the mental health, the balance within your life, and we start focusing more on the person than on the artist. We do it by having monthly sessions. So we will see each other every month, check in. Even if you're doing well, we still check in to see how your career is doing, how you are doing, and try to see where we can develop, improve, or might see like a weakness or like a something that we need to focus on. So it's kind of like a mental maintenance pack. That's how we'd like to approach it. We coach approximately between 30 and 50 artists, differentiating somewhere between that.
The largest being like the largest package, I mean, is it starter or mental or?
It's the middle one. It's the package where you focus on the question, how do I make money with this? Because starting artists are not necessarily our core business, because we believe that making music is something you can learn by yourself. Maybe even you should learn by yourself. There's so many stuff out there on YouTube for free, which you can check out if you want to learn how to make music. You can download the software, you can buy it, you can crack it, whatever you want, but it's available. So I don't necessarily believe that you need us to get to that level. But what we do notice is we work with high-profile artists, so DJs and music producers, who have managed to get to the top by themselves.
And which ones are they?
Bassjackers, Sam Feld, Danik, and Jay Hardway.
Nice.
And what we've noticed is that a lot of artists who are at that level where they've achieved the quality music, they still are looking for feedback from someone who they trust. I started thinking about like what helped me to build my career and how did I get to the place where I ended up. Like doing collabs with Hardwell and stuff, releasing on Revealed, doing Tomorrowland, all that kind of things. Like, how did I get there? I kind of started reverse engineering the whole career.
Yeah.
And I found out, like, I had people around me who helped me because they were a few steps ahead of me. And I kind of relate to, like, having a mentor. And having a mentor is super important, in my opinion. Like, in every space of your life, your parents are a mentor.
Yeah.
To start off with, like they teach you how life works. But afterwards, when you start figuring out life by yourself and find out what you want to do in life, it's nice to find someone who already has done what you are trying to achieve, because they will have tips and tricks that cost them like maybe 2 years to collect and can save you 2 years of time, because they already know that you shouldn't do, or you shouldn't make that mistake, or shouldn't sign with that company or whatever you're planning to do.
Yeah.
But in the end, having a mentor really saves you a lot of time.
Do you still make music yourself though?
No.
You stopped entirely?
Yeah, it's super weird, but it's the whole feeling kind of went. Yeah, it's just gone.
Okay.
And I did try it a couple of times, because sometimes I do have that feeling. It just suddenly pops up, and I feel like, hey, you know what? Let's dive into the studio and see what happens.
Yeah.
And then I have fun making music for like 3 hours, 4 hours, maybe 6 hours, and I'm done with it.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's like, okay, that's it.
Okay. Well, but do you still think you could give some feedback then?
Sure, yeah, no problem.
Because we do have a couple of songs that people have sent in. Thank you very much for that.
But we never cared. We were rich and wild. We were young and in love. And nothing takes a matter about the time we spent together. We grew up and lost touch. I'll always keep your photograph always on my heart, and I pretend that's so still mine. That's so still mine.
It sounds nice. It's hard for me to give feedback on the mixing or the mastering, because I'm not really familiar with the speakers. But aside from that, like creatively, I like the track.
Yeah.
What's always interesting to me to check is the energy of the song. As I mentioned, I'm a big fan of that build-up and the drop. Like that should really feel like a relief moment for the audience. And that's what this track has, in my opinion. Like it's super danceable. There's that energy where you can just put your hands up in the air and jump. So yeah, it's a nice track. There's one synth that you might hear in the beginning when it starts building up. That might sound a bit too generic for me.
Okay.
But still, I'm not a big fan of like talking about things that are personal. As in, I personally don't like the synth that much, but that would not mean that there isn't 2 million people out there who would like it. So it's not up to me to decide. Some people give feedback, but they don't really give feedback. It's their personal opinion, and that's worthless to me. It's okay to say like, hey, that kick needs to be compressed, or there's something that could sound a bit more tight. But if it comes down to creative feedback, it's just personal taste.
Well, thank you for the feedback. Let's just do another one. This is music by David with his song called Mine.
So just lay down beside me. Give me all your issues. I'll take them and I'll make them mine. Don't get caught up in your feelings. Just feel them. It's okay if you wanna cry.
again, I don't have much to add to this. You know, like the weird thing, if you ask me, like, I listen to a lot of stuff from a lot of young aspiring producers, and it's almost impossible to make a shitty song these days. But that might be because of things like Splice. You know, all the samples you use already sound amazing. So it comes down to the creative input of the song, you might say, that kind of sets you apart from the rest. Because sound design, well, you can find a great kick on Splice. You can find a great bass line on Splice. I don't even know which samples are on there.
Yeah.
But it's a nice song as well. Like, nothing much to add there.
For all these young aspiring producers that are watching this show, hopefully, I mean, do you have any pro tips for them? Like, how do you stand out in the scene right nowadays?
Yeah, that's the big question, of course. It's probably not going to be the answer everyone's hoping for, but it's not going to be your music.
Okay.
Yes, it's possible to have your music stand out so much that you literally, that will be your thing.
Mm-hmm.
But that's so hard to achieve, because finding a new genre, creating a new genre, creating your sound that really is different from the rest is just super hard. In my opinion, the best way to stand out these days is by building a brand using social media. And social media has a lot of pros and cons, of course, but one of the big pros is that you can just build a brand from your studio.
Yeah.
Build an international brand from your studio. Because in the end, it's all about awareness. It's all about how many people know your name, because that's a price tag. That's what promoters will pay money for, to book you. My tip would be, when your music has reached that point where it just sounds good, you know, or good enough, which is pretty easy these days, start thinking about, how am I going to set myself apart? How am I going to build a brand around my face, around my name?
Yeah.
Which I can leverage after a couple of years to get booked, to get sponsorship deals, whatever you want to do with it. If you start putting out who you are and start talking about what you like and do that consistently, you will start creating a community, a fan base behind you, full of people who are like-minded. So building that brand and putting out in the world who you are and what your interests are and what kind of person you are, that gives people the option to connect with you and to see if you are like them. Because in the end, we're all human, which we like to connect with a herd, be part of something. But you first need to know what you want to be a part of, or what you're going to be a part of.
I think it's also one of the most difficult things to do.
It is.
Find a way in which you can be different.
It is, and it's also, for most artists, it's not the reason why they sign up to start up with this. Because that's music. You know, I want to be in the studio all day long. I want to play gigs all day long.
Yeah.
But I don't want to spend my time on TikTok. I don't want to spend my time behind a desk thinking about how I'm going to create content for the upcoming month. It really has become more building a business than becoming an artist. You need to be aware of all those things that can break you on the internet. So the fact that you can get addicted to it, the likes you might get from people, or the dislikes, the hate you might get from people. You should really know who you are as a person and stand strong in your own shoes before you can build a big brand, because there will be a lot of shit coming to you, and you need to know how to deal with it. The majority of the artists that we coach is, well, let's say electronic dance music, but there's also like female singers, for example, piano players. There has been a rapper. What I see is that in the electronic dance industry, the guys and girls we meet there are just somehow are a bit more commercial. So it's easier for them to build brand. It's easier for them to work with social media, and they make money with their music easier than a singer would do, for example. But it's still fun to help every type of artist with achieving their dream.
If you had one tip for people when it comes to music production specifically, what would it be?
Don't overthink the quality of your music. What I notice with a lot of starting artists who are like making music for, let's say, 2 to 4 years, somewhere around that area, it's hard for them to decide on where the level is of the music. Like, is it already at the level where it should be? That's the big question a lot of beginners have. They start overthinking it, which causes them to not release it because they're insecure about their own sound. They're not sure if it's already professional enough. My tip would be just release it, step over your insecurities, and see what happens. Because 9 out of 10 times you will notice that it's better than you might think. By releasing your music, you can have other people decide if it's good enough, yes or no. If it's good enough, so if you get a lot of streams, for example, or if you get a lot of positive feedback from people, that will boost your self-esteem and that will bring you towards more releases and that will start the engine. Comparing yourself to other people is destructive.
Yeah.
And it's something we do as human beings. We do it with everything in our lives. But we also do it as artists. We compare our music with other artists. We compare our streams, our achievements, everything. But in the end, the only thing that matters is how important is it for you. Mm-hmm. Like realizing what you've already achieved and celebrating those small moments helps you to keep doing this because it's super hard to reach that top.
So basically, you have to celebrate the small successes and also not be too perfectionistic when it comes to releasing music.
Yeah, perfectionism kills dreams, and overthinking kills happiness.
Well, I think that's
There
a
you
great
go,
quote.
that's our quote, yeah.
That's doesn't get better than this.
Yeah.
No,
Of course, thank you, Joey, for being here and being
No
our
worries,
guest.
guys.
I think we've had a really interesting conversation.
definitely.
So be sure to check Joey out on Instagram.
Also for his artist coaching
Also for his
platform.
artist coaching platform. We'll put links in our descriptions and in the bio. Thank you for being here and thank you for watching.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for inviting me, and good luck with the podcast.
Bye.
Bye.
So before we go, a quick word to thank our sponsors, Bourguignon. It's a car company in Leeuwarden. They provide us with the Skoda Enyaq, a great car, fully electric.
Of course, also shout out to DZZY who made our t-shirts. Yes, if you're looking for dope design, go check out his website. We'll add all the links in the descriptions as always. We'd like to thank you for watching.
Yep.
And if you enjoyed these videos, leave us a like and subscribe because it allows us to make more of these videos.
Yeah.
And see you next time.
See you next week. Bye. Bye. Bye.